The Rhode Island Foundation, partnering with passionate Rhode Islanders to lead, transform, and inspire our state. Learn more at rhodeislandfoundation.org.
Welcome to another segment of In Another Opinion, a public information program where our discussions are focused on the communities of color in the state of Rhode Island. I'm your host, Peter Wells. My guest today is Julius Kolawole, Director and co-founder of the African Alliance of Providence of Rhode Island.
Yes.
Julius, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm glad to have you on the show. I've thought about having you on the show in the past, and then when we bumped into each other at the farmers market last week, it was perfect timing.
I agree.
Perfect timing. Julius, I want to talk to you about a few things, but first, just to familiarize you to the public again,
Okay.
but you probably don't need that introduction, but tell me about the African Alliance of Rhode Island.
It was founded in 2004. I'm a co-founder with Lamin Sir, who left Rhode Island already. And we have a board of directors representing 10 different countries from the continent. The purpose was for us to focus on the issues of Africans, raising families, and be able to get used to the American system of life.
Okay.
The mission then is aspirational, and that is that if and when an African arrives in Rhode Island, they should be able to make one phone call and be able to get help. That's our destination.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's a great mission, and considering what's going on today with immigration, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The Alliance has been around, you said, since when?
2004.
2004, so way ahead of yourself in terms of dealing with the politics of the United States.
Yes.
But Julius, listen, we also talked a bit about at the farmers market the whole issue around food.
Yes.
South Providence has been declared a food desert. So how can food be the solution to community growth? How does that work besides nourishment?
Let's begin with this food desert.
Yes.
I've spoken to this on several occasions. I don't know of anyone who's got $5 million parked somewhere who is willing to invest that money in a food desert. And when you look at what is going on, especially here in South Providence, we have 3 farmers markets, we have a whole lot of community garden, we have commercial kitchens, and so on and so forth. And why we are still being called a food desert, I don't know. But I need to add this to that story. I've argued we are not a food desert, we're a food oasis. There's quite a lot of food around for us, except many of what comes to our community are not really good for us. They're sugar high, and they are not good for our health. So thinking about fresh vegetables and fruits is what we need to promote and continue to promote. And that's the focus of why we need to change this tag name of food desert, because that doesn't fit into what we do.
No, well, I think that it was a political situation whereby we saw the chain stores, the Shaws, the Stop and Shop, move out of the community.
Yes.
When I first came to Rhode Island, there were both.
That's correct.
Now there are no longer, and I think that is where the identification of a food desert started. You're absolutely right that there are a lot of community gardens that grow vegetables and are making them available at farmers market for people who are interested in buying that.
Yes.
The other piece of the food desert, just for conversation, I think, has to do with the distance that people from South Providence would have to go if they wanted to go to a grocery store.
Yes.
It means getting on a bus, or if they drive, to have a car, to go and then come back by car or bus with bags of food. and it's not the most convenient thing. So people end up spending money at places like Cumberland Farms and
Yes.
7-Eleven.
The corner stores.
Exactly,
Yes.
and those foods obviously are not very good for a healthy growing family.
No.
So I do understand, and I agree with you in terms of the identification of a group or a whole area, and therefore identifying those people in that area as being part of a food desert, and it's kind of misdirected. But
That's
I
correct.
think that was the initial opportunity for them to put some sort of a label on what was happening. You know?
I'd like to just add, we live in an ocean state.
Yes.
If there is a desert, how do we get the ocean to the desert?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, the English language is used by folks in all kinds of ways.
Yes, and this is one of them.
Julius, you also are the co-founder of Food Solution New England.
No, I'm not just a little bit of correction to that.
Okay.
I am a member of Food Solution New England. I'm a team member, a network member, and Food Solution New England is a regional, it's a 6 regional group of people who have come together to focus on sustainability, be able to produce 50% of what these 6 regions eat by 2060. It's
Okay.
very aspirational, and I've been part of them for about 6 years now. And another group that's part of them here in Rhode Island is Rhode Island Food Policy Council. Just a little note on that. I was part of the design group for the Rhode Island Food Policy Council, and I served on the board for a year or 2, and that is still in place and is functioning.
Let's talk about both the Food Solution,
Yes.
New England, and the Food Council.
Yes.
Are they connected, or are their missions the same?
They are connected. The Rhode Island Food Policy Council zero in on the state,
Okay.
but there are some of the frames of what the Food Solution New England is doing that intersects what Rhode Island Food Policy Council is focusing on. Part of my role with Food Solution New England is an ambassador. There are 3 of us, one in Rhode Island, which is Julius. There is the second person in Connecticut, Senator Moore, and there's a third in Massachusetts, Karen Spiller. So there are 3 of us. The duties and responsibilities are to take the message on Food Solution New England to our community. And we do that in many different ways. And I can get into that aspect of it if...
Well, you threw out some numbers there based on the mission of the organization.
Yes.
And could you repeat those numbers again?
Okay. The Food Solution New England is 6 regional group that come together.
Okay.
It has what we call a process team. That's a small group that meets almost every month to kind of scope out what the network, which is bringing everybody together, what the network we talk about meets every 3 months. The other piece that I talk about is the ambassadors.
Right.
Okay. Within the ambassador group is a part of our responsibility years ago, and that gets modified. But then Food Solution New England always, every year, had a food summit. And it has made it its core mission to focus on the minorities, to make sure they have a voice, they have a place on the table, and they get listened to. And it's still a staple in the Food Solution New England. It's a core part of the mission. And they are doing that in almost every possible way. So from the ambassador point of view, part of my responsibility for Rhode Island is to make sure that I get as many minorities, and I do, to almost every event that takes place on behalf of Food Solution New England. For example, last 2 weeks, there is a Network Leadership Institute. And through me, I'm able to get 3 from the minority community to be part of the 21 from 6 regions. Okay, we were able to get 3 from the minority community.
And what will you do when you get together?
Oh, they get together and talk about quite a lot. Focus on food system, and from production to distribution to the economics of it, to the health of it. And buried in all of those things is the word privilege. Buried in those, everything I've said, is that core part of the racial equity. New England Food Solution, Food Solution New England also focuses on 21-day racial equity, and this is every year. This year, I think we have about, I would say about 8,000 to 9,000 participants all over the country.
Very good.
Okay, so again, it is critical that some are privileged. It is also true that there is some significance discrimination against the minority community, being people of color, okay, or the Latino and so on and so forth, or the people who work the day-to-day picking the fruit and the vegetables and things like that. Chain workers, are they adequately paid? Minimum wage? There is the seafood. So all of these issues are things that Food Solution is grappling with to make sure that just as those who have privileges, that the minority have a place on the table and recognize that, yes, there is this discrimination and it needs to change.
Now, we talked about the various gardens that exist in the community.
Yes.
And these gardens obviously are the basis that feed the farmers markets that there are on Cranston Street. I guess there's one down up on Hope.
Yes.
And there's various farmers markets, I think one on Elmwood.
Yes.
So with all these vegetables and fruits that are being grown, or more so vegetables, not so much fruit, I think, but vegetables that are grown and being sold at the farmers market, are they being sold at a market rate that would be equivalent to a grocery store, or is it more, or is it less because of the volume?
It varies.
Okay.
Maybe a little pricey. It may be a little pricey because the volume that a place like Stop and Shop have access to is different from what an ordinary local person have access to, that kind of a volume. But when you think about the health part of the local food, when I talk about health, I'm talking about to be productive. Okay, so you do the farming, you do the cleaning, the maintenance, you bring those things to the market, you make some money, you're able to take care of your family. Okay, and the neighborhood also have access to this fresh, locally grown vegetables, which is very, very good. And what goes to a place like Stop and Shop, you have to read the little tag on it. Watch out for sodium and a whole lot of other things in the product. Whereas in the farmer's market, it's fresh, you can see it, you can feel it, you can taste it, and that is good for the community. It also has ecological benefits, not just the health. You know, many of the gardens are in empty lots, and many of these empty lots was previously a housing unit, and we worry about lead contamination. So to build a community garden, you have to test the soil, and the way it's built, you build it up off the ground, put some wheat block and soil in it, just to separate the vegetables from contaminating or any contact with the ground. So it's safe to some degree, and we do soil tests to be sure that we're doing something about all of those things.
So from an economic standpoint, I'm hearing obviously the sale and of the vegetables that are grown, but there is the access to vacant lots
Yes,
throughout the community that would otherwise just be deteriorating and
That's
collecting trash,
that's correct.
are now being used for markets. I mean, for gardens.
Yeah.
Do you get help from the city
We do.
for those?
We do. We
Do
do.
you have to pay for those lots? Or is it a lease basis? How does that
all of
work?
the above. Sometimes you can buy it, sometimes you can lease it. The city has been very, very cooperative, and they work with us in many ways. The organization, the African Alliance, has benefited from that from the city. They have a program called Lots of Hope, and we've benefited from that. We have a garden on Mountain Avenue.
Yes.
The garden is called Mountain Bend. Okay, it came to us through Lots of Hope, which is a project out of the city of Providence. We also have another one on Perry Avenue. Okay, again supported by funds from CDBG through the city of Providence. And yes, the city has been a staple in these activities.
So we've talked a little bit about, besides the health portion of food, and on that note, let me ask you this. Are the products tested by the health department or anything of that nature, or just the pre-testing of the soil?
We do a lot of pre-testing of the soil. There are restrictions on pesticides. You are not allowed to use any pesticides.
Well, that's good.
No chemicals, none.
So no pesticides, no chemicals?
None, none. We are unable to classify it as organic. We have not done that, but everything we do meets that condition of being tagged as organic. No pesticides, no chemicals, none of the above.
One of the things that I think is very common to the cultures that exist on the South Side, whether it's from the Caribbean, whether from the continent, or whether from the United States, I think one of the things that pulls families together is sitting around that kitchen table or dining room table and enjoying a meal and having conversation.
Absolutely.
And this is a benefit, I think, that we don't think about when we talk about food. But from a family that I grew up in, at 6 o'clock when the lights came on, you know, you had to have your feet under that kitchen table or that dining room table, and my father would go through the whole conversation with my brother and I and my mom as to how our day went and what we did during that day. So it was a way of keeping in touch with what we were doing.
Yes.
But the focus was the food.
Yes. Yes. Food have stories. Where I grew up, yes, this is vitality, this is family activities. It is the bonding between mom and the daughter. Okay. Yes, food is central to our life. And even looking at what we do at Amri Farmers Market, we've been there since 2011. We grow about 8 different African vegetables, and our main customers are the so-called minorities, the blacks, the Latinos, Caribbeans, and lo and behold, a lot of people, a lot of white people love what we grow, and they eat a ton of it. Okay, and we'll be very lucky. From those things, we've made products from what we grow.
Yes.
Here in Rhode Island, and we'll be very lucky. We've got funded from USDA to take some of the product, take it through some feasibility studies, marketing studies, and be able to take it to the market. Yes, we've done quite a bit here within the community gardens here in Rhode Island. But one other key point, just responding to your comment, many of these women who garden and take their produce to the farmers market, it has been a big opportunity to engage people, talk about what you grow, how you cook it, what are the recipes, and therefore building a community vitality. These people would not have met if not for that market. The community come, and they meet, they talk. Now, over a period of few years, they become friends. They get to run into each other, outside the market, and they get to stop and say hello to one another. I think that, to me, is the return on investment.
Well, it is, and I see that function akin to going to the coffee shop and sitting and having a cup of coffee with someone, but now we're doing it over what we've produced in terms of food.
Yes, yes.
Well, would you say that it's more prevalent, or more of the participants are from the continent versus not?
No, actually we have all. We have everybody participating. For example, there's another small project we're zeroing on. We partner with Providence Housing Authority, and today as we speak, we are at Chad Brown. We have 15 women who are growing their own food.
Very good.
Okay, they have a small space. Each woman has 3 containers. They grow what they want. And I bring that up to say the following. One of the women, a couple of weeks ago, said, I harvested my lettuce. It tastes so good. And that, to me, is part of why we do what we do. Okay? So, yes, the Caribbeans love spicy pepper. Africans love spicy, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So, yes, we're bringing everybody in. And we're also in a winter market in Port Harcourt, of which is 96% of the customers in that market are Caucasian.
Okay.
Okay, they look for us every winter. They expect us to show up. Okay, another lesson we've learned, and I think maybe I should bring this up, because I think it speaks to issue of food, neighborhood, health. You know, it speaks to all of these threads that are connected. Okay, and that is, we do cooking demonstration where we bring some of what we grow and bring chefs in and invite the community to partake, taste, and so on. Okay, we found out there are 2 significant groups. Group 1 is those who are really in need of food, people who are food insecure. As soon as that is ready, served, they eat. They don't ask too many questions. Then you have group 2. They read the recipe, they engage the chef, they want to talk about this, they want to talk about that. It's outstanding, at least for me, to learn that yes, there is there's food insecurity in our community. People who are hungry, people who need to be fed.
And then the economics too.
Yes, that's true.
Because it does generate dollars.
It does.
And work for some people.
You know, when you talk about work for some people, to wake up in the morning, to have a place to go, to have something to do, and to be able to make money from it, by itself is a therapy. It's good for everyone to do that.
Well, this is true.
Good. You know.
Now, we were talking earlier about the economics of the community with bodegas and things of that nature. But the food product, again, is something that, I mean, I love to eat. So I like to go to different restaurants, different ethnic foods, and get a flavor of what people from these various countries have experienced. And to me, it's just fantastic. Julius, I know before we run out of time, is there anything that you'd like to share with the viewers?
Yes. We embark on 2 new projects this year. One is called the Barber Shop.
The barbershop.
Barbershop.
Okay.
We are looking at, actually we are likely to start a pilot early next month. We want to conduct high blood pressure measurement at Black-owned barbershop.
Well, that's a good idea.
Okay. The reason is we want to go to where our people are. We want to go to a place where we meet, and I don't know if I should say this, if it's going to be on the live TV, but a friend of mine, an MD friend, if I mentioned his name, it's a very familiar name to everybody, asked me a simple question. I was talking to him about this barber shop, and he said, do I know why men like to have their hair cut and look good? And I said, yes. And he said, why? I said, well, they want to look at women. He said, no. He said, the reason we need to do high blood pressure measurements is because of erectile dysfunction. I thought that was powerful.
Yes, it is.
Because if you don't do your high blood pressure measurement, if you don't know how to control it, sooner or later, you're going to have to deal with erectile dysfunction.
That's not something I knew about, and I'll have to do some more research on it.
Yes, please do.
But the idea of having blood pressure checks at barbershops is a great idea.
Yes.
Especially within the African American community.
That's correct.
Where blood pressure has taken its toll. We live under a great deal of stress.
That's correct.
And because of that, we tend to have be victims of high blood pressure, which also leads to things like kidney disease.
Absolutely, yes.
And diabetes.
That's correct.
So it's very important, and I think this is a great venture. I had not known about this activity, but it's great to hear that you're bringing health to the community rather than the community having to go to the health locations.
Yes. If I can make a second point,
yes,
because it's also extension of what I've just said. We're through some funding from Crexy Foundation, through another small group called Sewing Place, through City of Providence. We're looking at opening pop-up market in 3 locations. One is Washington Park. The second is at Columbus Square. That's Reservoir and Elmwood. The third we are looking at is David Loeb Center on Dudley and Perry.
Yes.
Now, we're also looking at bringing what is our own into this kind of market. In other words, can we bring checking your high blood pressure measurement into the market? Can we do hair braiding in that market? Can we bring cultural frames into the market? This is who we are. We arrive with all of those things. But to bring it into the market, you can buy your vegetable, you can do your hair braiding, you can do your blood measurement. Okay, it's a community for us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we are thinking about that, likely to begin in August this year.
Very good. Well, we'll look forward to that, and hopefully we'll see some results, get you back on the show and talk about it, and find out how successful you've been.
Thank you.
Julius, listen, we're running out of time.
Oh.
Time goes by extremely fast, but we have run out of time. But I want to thank today's guest, Julius Kolawole, and you, the viewers, for tuning in to another segment of In Another Opinion. A special thanks to PBS for making this program possible. I'm your host, Peter Wells. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at IA Opinion.
The Rhode Island Foundation, partnering with passionate Rhode Islanders to lead, transform, and inspire our state. Learn more at rhodeislandfoundation.org.